Hello YouTube! We are on the Real Programming channel. It is about HTML and CSS. My name is Andrei. This is our 52 lesson. I greet you. We will talk about test drive, Tony's orange headings. And now, back to Tony's page, we are going to make the headings orange and add an underline too. Now that you know all about color, it's time to add some color to Tony's web page. He wanted orange and he is going to get orange. But rather than making all his text orange, this would probably be unattractive and hard to read against a white background. We are going to add a subtle splash of color in his headings. The orange is dark enough that there is good contrast between the text and the background, and by color coordinated with the orange in the photos. Tony's shirt, we are creating a color relationship between the headings and the photos that should tie the images and text together. And just to make sure the headings stand out and create separation between the journal entries, we'll also add an underline to each headings. You haven't seen how to add an underline yet, but let's do it and then we'll look at more about text decoration. Here are all the changes in the CSS. Make these changes in your journal CSS file. We are going to make both H1 and H2 orange, so we're putting the color property in share true. Here is the hex code for the orange color. Tony wants otherwise no sRGB 80%, 40%, 0%. And here is the way we create an underline. We use the text decoration property and set it to underline. Notice that we created one new rule for above the H1 and H2 headings. This is good thing to do because it reduces the duplication. Test drive Tony's orange headings. Once you've made the changes to your journal CSS file to add the color property to the one H1 H2 rule, reload the web page and check on the results. Now both H2 and H1 headings are orange. This ties nicely with Tony's ordered them in shirt and shirt. The headings are also set of pattern with underlines. We thought this would be a good way to distinguish the headings, but actually they seem to look a little too much like the cable links, since people tend to think anything underline in a web page is clickable. So underlines may have been a bad choice. Let's quickly look at some other text decorations, then we'll reconsider these underlines in the web page. Exercise: sharpen your pencil and sheet of paper. What do all these colors have in common? Try each one in a web page, say as font color, or use your photos editing application's color picker to determine what colors they are by entering the hex code into the dialog box directly. And everything you ever wanted to know about text decoration in less than one page. Text decoration allows you to add decorative effects to your text like underlines, overlines, and line sorts. You also know as strike it route. To add text decoration, just set the text decoration property on an element like this. This rule will cause the element to have a line tool at the middle of the text. You can set more than one decoration at a time. Say you want underline and overline at this same time. You specify your text decoration like this. This rule results in the M elements having an underline and overline. And if you have text that is inheriting text decoration, you don't want just use the value known. With this rule, and M elements will have no decoration. There are no dumb questions, so if I have two different rules for an element, and one specifies overline and the other underline, will they be added together? So I get both. No, you need to combine the two values into one rule to get both text decorations. Only one rule is chosen for the text decoration, and the decorations as separate rules are not added together. Only the rule that is chosen for the text decoration style will determine the decoration used. So the only way to get two decorations is to specify them both in the same text decoration declaration. I've been meaning to ask why the color property isn't called text color. The color property really controls the foreground color of an element. So it controls the text and the border color, although you can give the border its own color with a border color property. I like the line through decoration. Can I use it on a text I am editing to indicate things that need to be deleted? You could, but there's a better way. HTML has an element we haven't talked about called del that marks content in your HTML as content that should be deleted. There is a similar element called ins that marks content that should be inserted. Typically, browsers will style these elements with strike through and underline respectively, and with CSS you can style them any way you like. By using del and ins, you're making the meaning of your content in addition to styling it. Removing the underline. Also line code. Let's get rid of that confusing underline and instead add a nice bottom border like we did in the long. To do that, open your journal CSS file and make these changes to the combined h1 h2 rule. Add a border on the bottom of the h1 h2 elements. You can almost read this like English. Add a din dot to the line with the color hash 90, 88, 88 and 88 on the bottom border. In the next chapter we are going to go into borders in detail. Hang on, we're almost there. Delete the text decoration. Yes. And here's how you knew our underline looks definitely more stylish and less confusing than a text decoration underline. Now we got borders under the h1, h2 element, not underlines. Notice that borders extend all the way to the end of the page, better than just under the text. Why? You'll find out in the next chapter. And bullet points. CSS gives you lots of control over the look of your fonts, including properties like font family, font weight, font size, and font style. Font family is a set of fonts that share common characteristics. The font families for the web are serif, sans serif, monospace, cursive, and fantasy. Serif and sans serif fonts are most common. The fonts that your visitors will see in your web page depend on the fonts they have installed on their own computers. Unless you see web fonts, it's a good idea to specify font alternatives in your font family CSS property in case your users don't have your preferred font installed. Always make the last font a generic font like serif or sans serif, so that the browser can make an appropriate substitution if no other fonts are found. To use a font that your users may not have installed by default, use the add font face rule in CSS. Font sizes are usually specified using px, yam, %, or keywords. If you use pixels px to specify your font size, you are telling the browser how many pixels tall they make your letters. Yam and % are relative font size too, so specifying your font size using a yam and % means the size of the letters will be relative to the font size of the parent element. Using relative sizes for your fonts can make your pages more maintainable. Use the font size keywords to set the base font size in your body rule, so that all browsers can scale the font sizes if user want the text to be bigger or smaller. You can make your text bold using the font weight CSS property. The font size property is used to create italic or oblique text. Italic and oblique text is slanted. Web colors are created by mixing different amounts of red, green and blue. If you mix 100% red, 100% green and 100% blue, you will get white. If you mix 0% red, 0 green and 0 blue, you will get black. CSS has 16 basic colors, including black, white, red, blue and green, and 150 extended colors. You can specify which color you want using percentages of red, green and blue using numerical values of 0 to 255 for red, green and blue, or using the colors hex code. An easy way to find the hex code of a color you want it is to use a photo editing application's color picker or one of many online web tools. Hex codes representing colors have 6 digits, and each digit can be from 0 to F. The first 2 digits represent the amount of red, the second 2 the amount of green, and the last 2 the amount of blue. You can use the text decoration property to create an underline for text. Underline text is often confused as linked text by users, so use this property carefully. Exercise HTML cross. You've absorbed a lot in this chapter: fonts, color, weight and styles. It's time to another correspondent. Let's see me. And font magnet solution. And crack the safe challenge solution. And sharpen your pencil solution and HTML cross solution. All colors that with just 1 digit in their hex code are grays, from very dark, almost black, to very light, almost white. And chapter 9, the box model getting intimate with elements. We'll talk about this in the next lesson, and this is our 52 lesson over. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to my channel, put likes, please share with friends, comment, eat bananas, chocolate and nuts, drink more water for the effective work of our brains. Bye!